When all you've ever wanted is to be internet famous, how far are you willing to go for that dream? Well, for this one couple, they were willing to shoot their shot on the craziest YouTube video they'll ever make. The good news, they got the fame they wanted. The bad news, well, you'll just have to keep watching, because the footage I'm about to show your thirsty, unforgiven eyes will make you understand why clout chasing is a very dangerous game. Pedro and Mona's love story was destined for chaos from the very start. Mona Lisa Perez was just a 14-year-old high schooler from South Dakota when Pedro Ruiz, a ballsy, gun-loving 16-year-old from North Dakota, swept her off her feet. Mona and Pedro were ready to do anything for each other, even if it meant giving up late-night parties for midnight diaper duty. On March 12, 2014, Mona and Pedro officially joined the Teenage Parents Club after welcoming their first daughter, Aaliyah. Because of this, Mona made the tough decision to drop out of Redfield High to become a stay-at-home mom, while Pedro worked full-time at a railroad company to support them. And for the next 3 years, they kinda just lived like aliens in Area 51. Everything about them and their daughter remained largely behind closed doors, until one day, Mona made a bold move, one that's about to turn their world completely upside down. On March 21st, 2017, a new channel pulled up into the YouTube hood, and its name was La Mona Lisa. Its purpose? To show the world the real life of a young couple who happens to be teenage parents. And just like that, Mona became the director of her own real-life sitcom, posting videos of her daily adventures with Pedro and their family, like trips to the grocery store, or the silly prank she'd pull on her boyfriend, like making him eat a donut covered in baby powder. Soon enough, YouTube started to seep into every corner of Mona and Pedro's lives. La Mona Lisa wasn't just a channel anymore. It was their digital diary, a place where they could share every milestone of their life, including the time they found out that Pedro was about to have a junior. Damn. 19 and 2 kids already. Now obviously both Mona and Pedro were over the moon about the thought of having their first baby boy together. But little did they know, it wasn't just Mona's baby bump that was growing, so was Pedro's ambition for their YouTube career. Although Mona Lisa's channel was only a few months old, they were already getting thousands of views and hundreds of subscribers. But Pedro wanted more, and this was something that slowly became more obvious the more he talked about his goals for the channel. In one of their few surviving videos, Pedro openly fantasized about what his life would be like if he reached 300,000 subscribers. Now, doubling down on YouTube when he's got a full-time job and another baby on the way sounds like a risky move, but taking risks was always Pedro's thing. And so he set out to create his own YouTube channel, one that he plans on calling Damn It Boy for a very fitting reason.
Everything I'm gonna be showing you guys on my channel, you guys are gonna be saying, "Damn it, boy."
You see, all Pedro ever wanted was to make videos of himself doing all sorts of these death-defying stunts, just like his idols from the TV show Jackass. Except he wanted to go even crazier, and Pedro was gonna show everyone in his much-awaited debut video, which I will be getting to in just a few seconds. His idea was simple. He wanted to test if a bullet from a .50 caliber Desert Eagle, one of the most dangerous handguns in the world, could pierce through a 1.5-inch thick hardcover encyclopedia. Now, when Pedro first brought this up to Mona Lisa and his family, of course not a single soul was on board, until one day, Pedro came up to her with an encyclopedia in his hand, and according to Mona, when she took a closer look, she saw a .50 caliber bullet still lodged halfway inside, leaving the back cover completely unscathed. Pedro's dry run was a success. He finally had proof that he could actually pull it off and live to tell the tale. And so after months of saying no, Mona finally gave in. And this was the tweet that sealed their fate. It was the 26th of June 2017. Pedro had just come home from work, but instead of sinking into the couch for some downtime, he went straight to the backyard, hauling his flashy gold-plated Desert Eagle with him. So without further ado, Pedro grabbed his GoPros and hit the record button, capturing the final moments before his daring stunt. But as they got closer to the moment of truth, Mona Lisa suddenly got cold feet again. But Pedro was having none of her whining, telling her that as long as you hit the book, you'll be fine. For added safety, Pedro even drew a target on the book's cover to help with Mona's aim, and even if the worst case scenario did happen, it didn't seem like Pedro was fazed by it.
If I die, I'll be ready for Jesus. He probably won't accept me into the pearly gates because how stupid this is, but I have confidence that my girlfriend will hit the book and not me.
And this was all the reassurance Mona Lisa needed to finally point the gun at Pedro and pull the trigger. The bullet whizzed through the air, hitting the book almost dead center and exiting through the back. Pedro immediately collapsed on the ground, and when Mona ran to him, she saw blood gushing from the bullet hole on his chest. Mona then rushed inside to call 911. Meanwhile, 30 horrified onlookers watched Pedro fight for his life, including his then 3-year-old daughter, Aaliyah. But when emergency responders arrived, it was already too late. Pedro Ruiz III died at the scene shortly after a senseless stunt. Just as he predicted, Pedro was already knocking at the pearly gates of heaven, with Jesus probably shaking his head saying, "Damn it, boy." While everyone else was still reeling from the shock of what happened, Mona Lisa, who was 7 months pregnant, got arrested the same day and brought to the police station for questioning. She was eventually released back into the public after coughing up $7,000 for bail. But little did she know, this is where the real torture began. Stick with me here because Mona the murder mom is revving up for a killer comeback, but the internet's about to show her why it might be safer to go back to prison. YouTube stunt gone wrong. Blinded by fame. Wannabe YouTube star dead. That's what it'll ever be for the majority of people. A tale about 2 idiots who ruined their lives just for a taste of that sweet internet clout. And people had no problem rubbing that into Mona's face. Then on December 15th, 2017, Mona herself had a go at the pin the blame on Mona game as she pleaded guilty to second-degree manslaughter. But instead of having to spend 5 years in prison and pay thousands of dollars in fine, all Mona got was this: a 180-day jail term, 10 years supervised probation, and lifetime bans from owning firearms or receiving payment for telling the story of what happened that fateful day. That is way below state guidelines. But according to Norman County Attorney James Brew, it's the sentence that fits the bill given the circumstances. But here's where it gets more interesting, noobs. On top of the light sentence, Mona also gets to keep custody of the kids. This really bugged a lot of people, because why should we let someone with a history of recklessness be in charge of 2 young kids? But as the great poet once said, the hater's gonna hate, but I am just gonna shake. And that's exactly what Mona did. In fact, just a little over a year after the incident, Mona was already back to uploading vlogs and makeup videos to her channel, La Mona Lisa. Meanwhile, those who already knew about Mona Lisa's disturbing past were obviously unhappy with her rather quick return to YouTube. But again, this didn't stop Mona from chasing the YouTube dream. For 3 years, she poured her heart into her channel, uploading videos 2 or 3 times a week. At that point, it really seemed like nothing could ever break her stride. That is until YouTube itself decided to take out their own Desert Eagle and pull the trigger on her channel, terminating it for good. Now you might be thinking this has got to be the end of the road for Mona, but you'd be wrong, because on July 29th, 2021, 3 months after YouTube closed her main account, she was already back under a new name, Her Bossy Diaries. And this channel was her way of telling the world that she was ready to start anew and bury her tragic past 6 feet under the ground. So did people start popping champagne and throwing confetti when they heard about her second comeback? Of course not. In fact, most of the comments under the video were pretty feisty to say the least. But again, Mona doesn't seem too concerned about what people are saying. Right now, she just wants to move on and heal with her kids. And a guy named Tyler. Well, Tyler Blake just happens to be the guy she tied the knot with on July 23rd, 2021. And he's also the man she co-founded her clothing company with called Wake. Now, some of you might look at Wake and say, oh, it's just another shop for clothes. But for Mona, it's so much more than that. In an interview with Inforum, Mona revealed that Wake is actually one of the reasons why she she's alive and kicking today. Wake is all about troubled people and troubled kids who have gone through something and think they can't overcome it. And this is why I really resonate with Wake, because I was that kid. I mean, that's just heartbreaking. She was just a kid back then, and sometimes at that age, we do crazy shit, especially when there's peer pressure in the mix. But hey, this isn't the time for us to open up old wounds. Now is the time for healing and moving on. Her marriage seems to be going great, their business is doing well, and her kids look happy and healthy. On top of that, Mona is also an inspirational speaker now, helping people heal from their own traumatic experiences through her podcast and TikTok videos. Now, of course, there are always gonna be people who will never forgive her for what she did to Pedro, but look how much she's grown. Think about the sheer strength it took for her to keep smiling for her kids, and imagine all the people she could help by sharing her story. So maybe, just maybe, it's worth giving her a shot. After all, doesn't everyone deserve a second chance?